Isa sa mga bagay na mahirap gawin in our life is to forgive those people who hurt us. That is why in this video, we are going to talk about the biblical psychology of forgiveness. Ano ba ang sinasabi ng Bible at ng scientific psychology in terms of how to forgive people who offended us? Let us start with a story from the Bible na nakasulat sa Matthew chapter 18 verses 21 to 35, the unforgiving servant. Once upon a time, merong isang master, maraming utang sa kanya yung kanyang mga servant. Until one day, this master decided na lahat ng may utang sa kanyang servants dapat sapilitang ibenta yung kanilang mga properties including their wives para mabayaran siya. Now, one of his servants nung narinig yung sinabi ng master na ito, lumapit siya doon sa kanyang master at nagmakaawa na huwag itong gawin. To make the long story short, while this servant was doing this, naawa sa kanya yung kanyang master. To the point, sa sobrang awa ng master sa kanya, kinancel niya yung lahat ng utang ng servant na ito. After this, nung lumabas na yung servant doon sa bahay ng master, on his way home, meron siyang nakasalubong na kanyang fellow servant na meron ding pagkakautang sa kanya. And when this servant saw his fellow servant, siningil niya agad yung utang ng kanyang fellow servant. Now, the fellow servant, naghihikaos din sa buhay, wala siyang pambayad doon sa servant. But when the servant heard na walang pambayad yung kanyang fellow servant sa kanya, he called the authorities para ipakulong yung servant na hindi makabayad sa kanya. And when people saw what this servant did, they were very angry. Kaya naman nagsumbong sila doon sa master na nagpatawad sa servant na ito. And when the master heard what this servant did to his fellow servant, nagalit din siya doon sa kanyang pinatawad na servant. Let me read for you kung anong sinabi ng master sa servant na ito word for word. Written in Matthew 18:32 to 35. Then the master called the servant in. "You wicked servant," he said, "I canceled all the debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you?" In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. At dahil ito ay isang parable, sabi ni Jesus in verse 35, "This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart." This is a parable that really talks about the value of forgiveness. Ini-emphasize ng Bible yung attitude natin na maging mapagpatawad sa ibang tao. To forgive means to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. In other words, when you say that you are forgiving a person, you choose not to feel bad anymore about the offense that that person did to you. Again, it doesn't mean na hindi mo na maaalala yung ginawa ng taong yon sa'yo, but you choose to let go of the negative emotions na nararanasan mo every time you remember the offense na ginawa sa'yo ng taong yon. And again, forgiveness is a value, or it is something that is very much emphasized in the Bible. In Matthew 6:14 to 15, "For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." Matthew 18:21 to 22. "Then Peter came and said to him, 'Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Until 7 times?' But Jesus said to him, 'I don't tell you until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. John chapter 20 verse 23, "If you forgive anyone's sins, they are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Again, all these biblical passages na binasa natin are all showing that forgiving other people for their offense is such a big thing for us. Paulit-ulit itong tinuturo ng Bible na dapat nating gawin. Now, have you asked yourself, why do you think forgiving other people is such a big thing for the Bible? Ako kasi naniniwala when the Bible makes us do something, it is always good for us. Hindi mag-uutos ang Bible ng isang bagay na hindi natin ikabubuti. So the question now is, are there benefits that we can expect when we follow the command of the Bible to forgive other people? The answer is yes, and there are 3 benefits when you do follow. Number 1, do you know na kapag nagpapatawad tayo, it is good for our physical health? According to this study na nakikita nyo on the screen, when we forgive other people, napapalitan yung ating negative emotions with positive emotions, specifically relief and lightness. And these emotions of relief and lightness are shown that these are emotions good for our physical health. Specifically, kapag punong-puno tayo ng relief at kagaanan sa ating emotions, our physical health improves, bumababa yung level ng stress natin, nagiging normal yung ating blood pressure, at lumalakas yung ating immune system. And vice versa, according to studies, for example, in this chapter written by Harris and Torresen, ang mga taong hindi mapagpatawad, they suffer from poor health outcomes, all because of stress. And it makes sense. Kapag tayo hindi nagpapatawad, we hold on to the negative emotions that we feel to another person, tumataas yung level of stress natin, which literally destroys our body. So, forgiving other people is good for our physical health. Second benefit, kapag tayo ay nagpapatawad, it is also good for our mental health. According to this study by Peterson et al., ang mga taong mabilis magpatawad, they are able to eliminate the negative emotions of remorse, guilt, shame, and self-condemnation. Basically, this study is talking about self-forgiveness because there are times sa buhay natin na feeling natin meron tayong mga nagawang masama that we find it hard to forgive ourselves. But guess what? If we do the work in forgiving ourselves, we are doing ourselves a favor. Pinapaganda natin yung ating mental health kasi nga nawawala na yung ating emotions of remorse, guilt, shame, and self-condemnation, which are all emotions that is bad for our mental health. Number 3, kapag tayo ay nagpapatawad, guess what? Another benefit we experience is it improves our relationships. For example, itong pag-aaral ni Williamson and Gonzalez, they found out that this model is true. The more you forgive, the more you are increasing your ability to empathize with other people. Ibig sabihin ng empathy, you have the ability to understand other people. You have the ability to focus on what they need. And the more empathy you express to other people, the better your relationships become. And in vice versa, the reverse is true. Kapag hindi tayo nagiging mapagpatawad, we always hold on to the negative feelings that we experience. It blinds you from the needs of other people. It makes you too much focused on yourself, which lowers your empathy, which destroys your relationship around you. And based on our everyday experience, we find this to be true. Diba? Kapag nag-hold on tayo sa ating mga past hurts and pains, it affects our moods. Minsan, nadadamay yung mga tao sa paligid natin na wala namang kinalaman sa bad vibes natin. And when I read this study, I remember one passage from the book of Proverbs. Ang sabi doon, whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. If you keep on repeating those negative emotions na naranasan mo from an offense of another person, you are destroying your existing relationships with other people, which we all know is not good for us. I hope itong mga benefits na ito magpapatulak sa inyo or magpapa-encourage sa inyo to really value forgiving other people. So the next question now is, how do you forgive someone? Lalong-lalo na kapag yung puso mo ay matigas sa pagpapatawad, how can you further encourage yourself to forgive other people? Let me share with you 3 possible solutions para ma-encourage mo yung sarili mo on how to forgive others. Response number 1, to help yourself forgive another person, you need to remember your past offenses. I want you to sit down and reflect at isipin mo, sino ang mga taong na-offend mo in your life in the past? Meron at meron yan. Imposibleng wala kang na-offend, imposibleng wala kang nasaktan, kasi laging meron tayong mga masamang nagagawa to other people around us. Now, what is the reason bakit mo dapat alalahanin yung mga kasalanan mo sa ibang tao? Because you are programming yourself to realize that you are also an offender. Because once you realize that you are also an offender, malaki ang maitutulong nito sa pagpapalambot ng iyong puso sa pagpapatawad. Kasi unforgiveness comes from the attitude that you have no offense. Unforgiveness comes from the attitude that you have not hurt anyone. But as we know, all of us did. Along the way, while we were still alive, while relating with other people, nakasakit tayo ng ibang tao. So that's one way for you to encourage yourself to forgive. Realize that you are also an offender. Realize that you have also hurt other people in the past. Second strategy in relation to response number 1, you remember that you were also forgiven by someone. After you remember those things that you did in the past na nakasakit ka ng ibang tao, the next thing you do is to remember that those people that you've hurt in the past, marami sa kanila, pinatawad ka rin. And that includes your parents, your friends, your teachers, and of course, pinaka-importante, God. I mean, can you imagine kung lahat ng taong ito ika-count against you lahat ng masamang bagay na ginawa mo sa kanila, especially God? Can you imagine if God will count against you all the sins that you have done? I don't think nanonood ka pa ng video na ito. Sa tingin ko, if God counted all your sin against you, wala ka na sa mundong ibabaw. Remember, all these people you've hurt in the past, especially God, has chosen to forgive you. And so, who are you? What is your right not to forgive someone who offended you? Diba sinasabi sa Colossians 3:13, bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. One powerful way to really encourage yourself na magpatawad, alalahanin mo that God and even other people in your life has also forgiven you. I want to share a short story that happened to me na related dito sa response number 2 on remembering that you were also forgiven by someone. There was this one morning, I was late for a class. So nagmamadali ako noon, nagdrive ako. And on my way to school, I was not paying attention. I am still not in my right way of thinking. Kakagising ko lang noon at nagmadali nga ako nag-prepare. I was careless in driving na nakabangga ako ng lightly ng aking kaharap na kotse. And of course, when I heard the sound na nakabangga ako ng isang kotse sa harap ko, I know what is to come, right? Merong galit na driver na lalapit sa akin demanding me to pay the damage. Now, to make the long story short, of course, the driver doon sa harap ng kotse ko bumaba and then tinignan niya yung aking nasagi na part ng kotse. Now, in fairness, wala namang masyadong damage, no? I mean, if you're going to look at that area, wala namang dimple, wala namang gasgas na nandoon. So, the driver talked to me and he asked me if I was okay. And then, of course, I know my offense. I said, sorry. Pero alam nyo, ine-expect ko hindi ako patatawarin. Ine-expect ko kukunin yung number ko para singilin ako for the damages na pwedeng meron doon sa kotse. But this guy, when after I said sorry, he said, it's okay. Wala naman masyadong damage. We can just go ahead. And he even told me na next time, mas mag-ingat na lang ako. Because times are dangerous, the streets are very dangerous, so I need to pay more attention when I drive. And then, he just drove away. In other words, I was forgiven. To make the long story short, after that incident, I went straight to school and then nagturo na ako ng lesson. While I was teaching my lesson, I saw one of my students not paying attention to me. Meron siyang kinakalkal doon sa kanyang cellphone while I was teaching. And when I saw this student, talaga namang nagalit ako, nainis ako, uminit yung ulo ko that I called his attention. And this student told me, "Sorry, sir." And then he kept his phone away and began listening to me. But deep inside my heart, I was so angry that I want to send the students to the discipline's office. Kasi given sa ginawa niya, pwede ko siyang isend sa discipline's office. Meron akong power to do that, to make him pay for what he's done. But after I remembered what happened to me that morning, that somebody forgave me, somebody let me go, all of a sudden, yung galit ko sa estudyante, yung matigas na puso ko na magpatawa doon sa estudyanteng yon, unti-unting lumambot. I let go of the offense and went on to my usual day. Remembering that other people forgave you will further encourage you to forgive other people. Benefit number 3 or response number 3 to help yourself forgive other people is to identify the benefit of the offense. This is a very interesting strategy na ginawa sa research ni Macaulay and others on how to forgive other people. According to this study, people are more likely to forgive someone if they find the positive things that the offense gave them. Ibig sabihin, tatanungin nila yung sarili nila, anong magandang nangyari sa akin dahil sa sinaktan niya ako? And you can do the same. I want you to remember one offense that somebody did to you na hirap kang patawarin, and then you ask yourself, anong magandang nangyari sa akin because of that offense that that person gave to me? And the thing is, the more you identify those good things that happened to you, the more you identify the benefits na nangyari sa iyo because of the offense, the easier for you to forgive that person. Kaya alam nyo, to illustrate this principle, meron akong gustong kanta ni Miss Pop Fernandez entitled Kaya Pala. Ang ganda nung song because it applies this principle na nakita sa forgiveness research. Let me read to you the lyrics of the song. Ang sabi dito, kaya pala nangyari yon, kaya pala nagkaganon, nalungkot at naiyak, nagtampo pa noon. Kaya pala natapos may magsisimula, ngumiti ng muli, di na ako luluha. So very clearly in that line of the song, merong naka-offend sa kanya, merong nanakit sa kanya. But in these lines of the song, makikita natin yung attitude of the singer to spot the positive benefit na nakuha niya because of the offense. Let's continue to read the lines of the song. Ang sabi, pusong minsay nag-isa, liligayan na rin. Kahit ganun ang nangyari, puso ko'y nasaktan, kaya pala ganun, may magandang dahilan. And the chorus of the song tells us, kaya pala, sa buhay ko'y darating ka. Dito sa puso ko, ikaw pala. Kaya pala, di baling minsan ako'y nasaktan. Ikaw naman ang matatagpuan, ngayon alam ko na, kaya pala. The thing is, kapag ganyan ang attitude mo sa mga offense na ginawa sa'yo ng ibang tao, nakikita mo yung good things na nangyari sa'yo, because of those offenses, hindi magiging mahirap sa'yo ang maging mapagpatawad. And you know what? After I've read this research on forgiveness, yung ganong strategy, I remembered one passage in the Bible that reflects that idea. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 27, it says, if you search for good, you will find favor. But if you search for evil, it will find you. And isn't that true in our everyday life? Diba? Kapag nag-hold on tayo sa mga masasamang bagay, sa mga negative emotions natin because of what others in the past have done to us, it destroys our mental health. It destroys our positivity. But as Proverbs told us, di ba ang sabi, if you search for good, you will find favor. Marami tayo mga pabor, mga magagandang bagay na makukuha if we choose to see the good things. And that's one strategy for you to better encourage yourself to forgive another person. Now, as we close this video on the psychology and on the biblical psychology of forgiveness, let me just share one more thing about forgiveness. Forgiveness is a process. Hindi ito madaling gawin. It is not a one-time thing. It is not an overnight thing. Hindi yung kapag sinabi mong, oh, I forgive you, and then that's it. You're already successful forgiving someone. It is a process. Lalong-lalo na meron tayong mga offenses na naranasan that it's not really easy to forgive. Masyadong masakit para magpatawad. Hindi natin minamaliit yung mga hurts, yung mga pains na naranasan ng iba sa inyo. I'm sure there are certain offenses that you have experienced na mahirap patawarin. But just remember that it is a process. Forgiveness is a process. The more you do those strategies na tinuro ko in this video, the more you are softening your hard heart. Hindi natin ito magagawa ng overnight. But as you consistently apply the different strategies on how to forgive other people, that hard heart, with the help coming from God, unti-unti yang lalambot for you to forgive other people. In closing, let me just leave to you some words of wisdom tungkol sa forgiveness. Ang sabi ni paring Luis, to forgive is to set prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. Actually, kapag tayo ay hindi nagpapatawad, we are imprisoning ourselves. Imprisoning ourselves to negative emotions, bitterness, remorse, guilt. But when you choose to forgive, what happens? You let go of those negative emotions and you become psychologically free. Pero syempre, wala nang tatalo pa sa sinasabi ng Bible sa forgiveness. Right? Romans 4:7-8, forgiveness can make you happy. Anong sabi sa Romans? Blessed are those whose lawless deeds are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed or happy is the man against whom the Lord will not count his sin. And for the Lord not to count your sin against you, you need to forgive. One way for you to make your life happier, to improve your psychological life, to enhance your spirit, is really to forgive others who have offended you.